The Berenstain Bears. Many people vividly recall the beloved children's book series spelled as the Berenstain Bears, with an EIN at the end. You might even feel certain you saw that exact spelling on library shelves, backyard bookshelves, or in vintage TV commercials. But from its debut in 1962, the series has always been spelled Berenstain Bears, with an AIN. Created by husband and wife, Team Jan and Stan Berenstain, the franchise eventually grew to over 250 books, TV adaptations, and merchandise, all bearing that consistent spelling. So why does our memory insist on Stein? It's a case of mental autopilot. Our brains normalize unfamiliar patterns to familiar ones, and Stein is a common Germanic ending we associate with surnames. Each time someone casually mispronounced or misspelled Berenstain, the incorrect version spread, reinforcing that shared illusion. Fans who dig out original first edition copies or check publisher records find the A in black and white. No E ever lurked there, despite what our minds tell us. Darth Vader. For decades, fans and even people who've never seen Star Wars have confidently quoted, "Luke, I am your father," imagining that dramatic moment in 1980's The Empire Strikes Back when Darth Vader reveals the ultimate twist. That misquote is so deeply ingrained in pop culture, being one of the most famous lines from cinema, so much so that it feels etched into collective memory. However, if you watch the original scene, Vader never utters, "Luke." Instead, after Luke accuses him of killing his father, he replies simply, "No, I am your father." The absence of Luke makes that line sting all the more cold and impersonal. So why do we all add the name? It's likely a case of our memories filling in missing context. Recalling the reveal without visuals, we insert Luke to anchor the moment. Trailers, parodies, and memes, often unconcerned with verbatim accuracy, then repeat the error, further embedding the false quote. Monopoly Man. Ask people to describe the Monopoly mascot, and they'll often mention a top hat, bushy mustache, and a little monocle over one eye. It's so familiar you might swear you saw him adjusting that eyepiece while leaning on a cane. In reality, rich Uncle Pennybags, who was rebranded in 2020 as Mr. Monopoly, has never worn a monocle. From his debut in 1936 on Parker Brothers' original edition to today's deluxe collector's versions, his round spectacles-free face remains the same. The confusion likely stems from blending him with another wealthy mascot, Mr. Peanut, introduced in 1916, who famously sports both a top hat and a monocle. Over decades of advertising, those two caricatures merged in our collective imagination. Add to that casual fan art, parodies, and internet memes that doodle a monocle on Mr. Monopoly simply because it feels right for a tycoon character. As friends, family members, and trivia buffs swapped descriptions, the false monocle became the default, despite every board and box showing no monocle whatsoever. Febreeze. Ever paused in a store aisle completely certain the freshener brand is spelled Febreeze, with two E's just like the word breeze? You're not alone. The air freshening spray's name logically evokes a fresh breeze, so it seems impossible that it's spelled any other way. Or is it? Every iteration of the product, from the classic linen spray to fabric refreshers, plug-ins, and auto vent clips, has always been branded Febreeze, with only one middle E. The confusion stems from phonetics. When you hear Febreeze, your brain automatically connects it to breeze, so it writes what it expects. On top of that, years of casual conversation, hurried social media tags, and fumbled voice searches have cemented the erroneous spelling in public consciousness. Even search engines often autocorrect Febreeze to Febreeze, but sometimes suggest the wrong form first. In truth, the brand opted for a more streamlined look. Pikachu's tail. Picture the first time you saw Pikachu, those bright red cheeks and that jagged lightning bolt tail. Now, close your eyes and ask yourself, did you notice a black tip on that tail? A surprising number of fans swear it's there, mirroring the black accents on his ears. But here's the kicker. Since Ken Sugimori sketched him back in 1996's Pokemon Red and Green, Pikachu's tail has been pure yellow, save for a little brown patch at the base. Every official design from Niantic's Pokemon Go models to Funko Pop figures and movie posters sticks to that original palette. So why does this phantom stripe haunt our memories? Part of it is visual trickery. Our brains see the black ear tips and subconsciously paint them onto the tail. Layer in a dash of fan art, some knockoff merch that actually did add a black tip, and a handful of blurry bootlegs, and you've got the perfect breeding ground for a shared misremembering. Throw social media debates into the mix, and before you know it, that non-existent stripe feels as real as Pikachu himself. The magic mirror. Almost everyone remembers the evil queen's line in Disney's Snow White as, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?" Yet, if you watch Walt Disney's 1937 animated classic, her exact words are, "Magic mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?" No repetition, and no "mirror, mirror." The phantom phrasing is lifted straight from the original Brothers Grimm fairy tale, where the German Spieglein translates literally to "mirror, mirror," appearing twice in the text. Over decades, that rhythmic double repeat caught on in storybooks, theater adaptations, musicals, and even a 2012 film titled Mirror, Mirror, starring Julia Roberts. It's so much easier to remember that way that it crowded out the original line. Psychologists call this semantic distortion, our recollection aligning with cultural tropes rather than precise wording. Curious George. If you grew up reading Curious George books or watching the animated series, you might be absolutely certain that the mischievous little monkey swung through trees by his curly tail. In reality, Curious George has never had a tail. Since he spawned in by the hand of husband and wife team Hans and Margaret Ray in 1941, every edition consistently portrays a tailless, chimpanzee-like creature. Yet so many of us instinctively add a tail when recalling George's antics. Psychologists call this a semantic expectation error. Our brains assuming monkey equals has a tail, and so we fill in the missing appendage. Early merch and some fan art sometimes drew him with that curly tail by default, helping to reinforce the illusion with every sketch or sticker. By the time you dig out your original storybook, you may blink in surprise at his bare backside, tail completely absent. KitKat. Let me take you back to the candy aisle as you picked up your favorite candy bar, a KitKat. You think the chocolate wafer bar's name is spelled with a hyphen, right? You're not alone. Many chocolate lovers swear they've seen a little dash between those two tasty syllables on retro wrappers or in candy advertisements. Yet since Rowntree's dropped the best treat in York, England in 1935, and through Nestlé's worldwide campaigns today, the candy has always been branded KitKat, two separate words with no hyphen. So why does our memory insert one? It's a case of linguistic convention. English often hyphenates compound nouns, so our brains automatically add what feels right. Early print runs with close letter spacing, vintage vending machine stickers, and some off-brand imitations may have created the illusion of a connecting line. Add the jingle, give me a break, break me off a piece of that Kit Kat bar, and you get a shared false memory. Fruit of the Loom. Fruit of the Loom's logo seems straightforward, just a handful of fruit. You're likely picturing a woven horn bursting with apples, grapes, and berries. But the truth is that since Robert Knight trademarked the name in 1851, the emblem has been nothing more than a tidy cluster of produce. When the artwork was refined in the 1970s, designers deliberately stripped away any basket or cornucopia, leaving pure fruit against a blank backdrop. So how did that phantom horn insinuate itself into our minds? Our brains automatically map familiar harvest symbols onto any fruit pile, and a few novelty t-shirts, cartoons, and knockoff labels that actually added a basket only reinforced the error. A quick glance at the trademark filings from the late 70s onward confirms it. Just fruit, no basket, showing how expectation can overwrite design history. We are the champions. Sing the last line of Queen's anthem, "We are the champions," and many of us instinctively belt out, "of the world," imagining Freddie Mercury dropping the coldest line ever sung. In reality, on the original 1977 studio recording from News of the World, the song ends simply with Mercury's voice trailing off on "We are the champions," and then it cuts straight to applause. The extra "of the world" appears earlier in the lyrics, but not in the final bar. So why do we all add it? One clue lies in live performances. When Queen played at Wembley in 1986, Mercury often threw in "of the world" to rally the crowd, and those versions were immortalized on live albums and broadcasts. Stadium renditions, movie soundtracks, and sports event montages also tend to layer on the full phrase to amp up the energy. Checking the vinyl or digital track confirms the simpler ending, but our minds hold on to the more emphatic fan favorite.